Hey everybody, let's just give it a couple minutes and allow people to join. I think it's about 2 minutes before we're actually scheduled, so let's just give it a second. Hope you're all having a very good week. It's weekend time, yay. Okay, actually let's just get started. And everybody can catch up when they join. So this week we had 2 questions that I'm going to be addressing in today's live. And the first one was around letting go of past mistakes and failures, and the second one was around how to deal with rejection. So I think we're going to start with letting go of past mistakes and failures, because that's probably the quickest one to address at this point. So as you're coming in, please say hello and just let me know that you're here, and nice to have you. So I've got a couple of notes over here because I want to make sure that I don't miss out on anything. These are 2 really important topics, so let's just make sure that you get all the value you need from this. So letting go of past mistakes and failures. Failure is part of life and it's inevitable. So I'm just going to leave that truth bomb right there. Just because you may make a mistake, it does not equate to failure, and it does not equate to you being a failure, more importantly. A mistake or a failure is really only a loss if you choose not to learn anything from it. So let's jump in and let's discover a few ways of letting go of these mistakes and these perceived failures, all right? So number 1, be grateful for your mistakes. And I know that it may sound strange to express gratitude for mistakes, especially if maybe they were embarrassing ones or painful. But think back to a time when you exercised poor judgment, or maybe you did something that you later on regretted. How has that experience changed you? Did it make you wiser, stronger, maybe more discerning? So I learned the dangers of having a quick temper and rushing to judgment. And now when I'm upset, I try to give myself some time and some space to reflect rather than to react, right? So I am grateful for that opportunity to grow in those ways. So how can you be grateful for your mistakes? Number 2, forgive yourself for what you didn't know. So often, we view a mistake through the lens of our knowledge today, and we bash ourselves for making decisions based on that insight. But remember, we didn't know what we didn't know, right? So we made a decision and we acted the way that we did based on the facts that we had at the time. So we wouldn't expect a kid in the 1st grade to perform perfectly on a high school math test. So be compassionate with yourself. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a break for doing the best that you could given the facts and the knowledge that you had at the time. There's nothing else you can do. You did the best that you could. Number 3, be aware of your negative pattern matching tendencies. And so what I mean by this is when you have an experience that has some kind of emotional significance, your brain tags that as being important. So it triggers your brain's fear mechanism, which then tells your brain to be on the lookout for anything that might happen that's similar. And in that way, it protects you from experiencing the same trauma again. So your brain tries to match a new experience with an old one that perhaps you had, but depending on how emotionally attached you are to that original experience, that can lead to false pattern matches. So for example, if your relationship fell apart and now you believe that all your future relationships are going to fall apart too, that is a pattern matching gone wrong. So logically, you know that all relationships are different, but emotionally, you're responding to one and all as the same. okay? So if at any point you're feeling like you're stuck and you can't move beyond a failed experience, that is your brain's pattern matching being a little off. Can be solved, right? So ask yourself, what specific past failed experience and associated feelings do my current feelings remind me of? Let me repeat that. It's a bit of a mouthful. What specific past failed experience and associated feelings do my current feelings remind me of? And really dig deep and be super honest with yourself so that you can really get to the root cause of this. And once you've determined the origin of your current feelings, then list all of the ways that your current circumstances are different from the past failed original experience. And review this list as often as you need to. Eventually your brain will start to see how they are different, and it will start disassociating. Number 4 is to celebrate your cracks. There is a valuable lesson in kintsugi, I hope I pronounced that right, but it's the Japanese art of fixing broken pottery with gold. So by accentuating the fractures in a piece of pottery, as opposed to covering up those cracks, the pottery actually becomes more valuable than the original flawless version. So our mistakes are the refiner's fire that sharpens those parts of us that would otherwise be left dull. So they allow us to become more interesting, sensitive, compassionate, and wise. So my take on that is that every time you make a mistake, just think about how much more golden and interesting that you're becoming, right? So is this helping you? If it is, give me a thumbs up, and also if you're watching this on replay, please give me a hashtag replay in the comments just so that I can see that you were here. I think from here, let's jump into how to deal with rejection. And so earlier on this week, I asked the group around a question about how you cope with rejection, and there were some people that said that they weren't sure. So I thought I'll cover it in today's session with the hope that it is going to help a few of you, or if not all of you, because we all have to deal with rejection sometime in our lives, right? It's a fact of life. So Cambridge Dictionary defines rejection as the act of deciding not to accept someone or something, and in this context, it's us. Hi Nadia, nice to see you. I know you're one of the people asking a question about this. So look, we've all been in situations whereby we're rejected in some way, shape, or form, and maybe that's by partners, friends, maybe it's companies that we interviewed with, maybe it's clients if we're business owners or entrepreneurs. And so we feel hurt, we wonder what's wrong with us, we feel bad about ourselves, maybe we call ourselves names, and we think that we're not good enough, and then somehow we make up the story that for the most part is just simply not true, but we look for evidence to make it true. And so we keep telling ourselves the story, and it spins around in our head, and anybody that's going to listen to us, we tell them the same story, and it becomes so ingrained in us, and eventually that becomes a limiting belief. And then we start fearing rejection. And what's interesting is that scientists have actually taken people and hooked them up to MRI machines, and this is so fun. I'm such a nerd. I love this. But basically, these scientists asked them to recall a recent rejection that they had. And they discovered that the parts of the brain that lit up, okay, within this experiment where they recalled their, recent rejection, and they discovered that the parts of the brain that lit up are the exact same parts of the brain that light up when we experience physical pain. Isn't that interesting? I love that. So our brain is wired like this by design to keep us safe. So remember back in caveman days where we couldn't really survive alone. So back then, being ostracized was like a death sentence, really. So yeah, sure, we've evolved from that, and that's great. But I mean, it's no wonder that even the smallest rejection can make us feel like crap. So there are a few ways to curb these unhealthy responses that we have towards rejection, and to help soothe our emotional pain. So I'm going to run you through these, and I hope that it helps. And if it does help, I'd love to know. Let me know what stands out to you. So number one, acknowledge your feelings. Hold on, I didn't say wallow, I said acknowledge. Okay, rejection can involve other uncomfortable feelings or emotions like embarrassment or awkwardness. And so before you can actually start addressing your feelings around rejection, you need to acknowledge them and know what they are. So, I mean, telling yourself, for example, that you don't care about being hurt when actually you really do, denies you the opportunity to confront and manage that fear productively. So acknowledge them. Number two, I like to remind myself that rejection is direction. So none of the real life rejection situations that we face today are life-threatening, thank God. But we do have the ability to turn off that autopilot and decide how we want to respond to that rejection. So I like to help my clients to reframe rejection in that when we are rejected, there's something better that's coming our way. So for example, when my husband left me 2 weeks short of our 11-year anniversary, I was in a brand new country, no friends, no family, no support system, whatever. That was a massive rejection. 11 years, right? So, I mean, I was hurt. I called myself bad names. I told myself I wasn't good enough. I'm sure you can imagine all of the things because it was all there. And it didn't help, right? All it did was it took me into a much darker place, and it was harder to get out of. So, you know, one day I just decided to start looking for the gratitude in the fact that he left me. I know it sounds a bit weird, right? But I redirected my thinking to the people and the events that basically awaited me, I guess. And now I am with my dream partner, and it's the most loving relationship I've ever been in. So here's another example. So if we are rejected from a job that we really want, it's more than likely that we weren't a suitable candidate for that particular job. And you know, if we're put into the position that we're not suited for, we're going to be unhappy and frustrated rather than flourishing and happy. And that's the same for relationships, right? You're not going to force something where you're not a good fit, or they're not a good fit for you. So keep focusing on the positive potential of the situation. Not easy sometimes, I know, but keep trying. Number three, focus on what you do bring to the table and remind yourself of your worth. You know, often when it comes to a breakup of some kind, we withdraw and we feel like not putting ourselves out there again. And you know, I encourage you at this point to focus on your positive qualities and remember why your attributes might be appreciated by somebody else in a different situation. And that helps build resilience. So building up your confidence and your self-worth can also help you to remember that you are entirely worthy of love. And that will lead you to feel less afraid of continuing your search for it. Okay, number four. Stop criticizing yourself and reject any kind of negative self-talk. It's tempting to go down the road of listing all of your faults and chastising yourself for what you did wrong. Please don't. Please don't. Okay, go ahead and review what happened. Cool. Reflect on what you could do differently in future. Awesome. Those are all helpful things. But that's it. Okay? No name calling. No going down the road of, oh, I'm just not good enough. You know, none of that is helpful. All it does is it reinforces your belief that the rejection was your fault, when in actual fact, it probably had nothing to do with you at all. So that takes me to my next point, actually, in that rejection is not personal. And I know that you're going to say, oh, it's personal when somebody tells me that, I'm not right for them or whatever. But hear me out, okay? Most rejection, whether romantic or professional, even social, is due to a fit misalignment. So needs not matching up. Okay, it's kind of what I said in the last section about how, if you're in a job that you're not suited for, you're going to be unhappy and frustrated. It's the same thing here, right? So practice self-compassion by telling yourself what you would tell a loved one in that same situation. Okay, number 5. Figure out what it is that really scares you about that rejection. So when you explore what's behind your fear of rejection, then you can start to address that specific worry. Maybe you're afraid of romantic rejection because you don't want to be lonely. Understandable. So realizing that can help you then to prioritize strong friendships, which then can help you insulate against loneliness. Make sense? Number 6. Try that again. Choose to assume the best rather than the worst. What I mean by that is that we need to start training ourselves to make allowances rather than assuming the worst. So perhaps the guy or girl that you're dating didn't text again for like a second date. Cool, well, you don't know, maybe they got a job in a different city and, they have bad communication and bothering, Cool. Maybe their on again, off again ex got back in touch. Maybe it has absolutely nothing to do with them not liking you. Maybe they just have really bad communication skills. So my point here is, don't assume to know what is going on the other side of the situation where you actually don't have the facts. Okay? And number 7, this is the last one I've got for you, and then I'll let you go. But talk to a professional. Rejection and rejection fears can sometimes have really long-lasting effects. And it is possible to overcome those rejection fears and traumas on your own. But professional support is sometimes, beneficial. And it will help you move along more quickly. Nobody likes to be feeling this way, for long periods of time. It is what it is. So if that is something that you are looking to maybe work through, feel free to reach out to me. I am now offering 90-minute intensives to help work through these kinds of issues. So if you are interested, drop me a comment below or a DM. And so I'd love to know from you guys if this was helpful. And if you have any kind of follow-up questions, then please leave them in the comments and I will get back to you. I am also interested to know what your biggest takeaway from today's tips were. So yeah, let me know. And again, if you're watching the replay, please just leave me a hashtag replay so that I know that you are here. And I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to next week and seeing what questions come up. So have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.